We blame ourselves because it's easier. It's easier to say I'm addicted than to admit I'm outmatched. The average user opens their phone 96 times a day, not because they're lazy or flawed, but because their device is engineered to make it feel like an extension of the self. Each buzz, notification, and color palette is tailored to hijack your attention, and you never stood a chance. Behind your favorite apps are teams of behavioral psychologists and machine learning models. Their goal isn't to serve you, it's to keep you. You aren't a customer, you're a captive. And yet, you feel guilty, as if it's your lack of discipline that's at fault. But what if guilt is just another product, one that keeps you coming back? The first truth is this: your attention is not broken, it's valuable, and that's why it's being stolen. The trap of infinite stimulation. There was a time when satisfaction came after struggle. A garden planted, a poem written, a meal prepared with care. But now pleasure is prepackaged and algorithmically served before you even know what you want. This isn't by accident. It's a system of intermittent variable rewards, the same technique used in slot machines. You don't get the dopamine every time, but maybe this next scroll, maybe this next video will be the one. The result? You're conditioned. Your brain learns to chase novelty over depth, sensation over substance, and over time, reality becomes dull. You stop reaching for books, or nature, or quiet conversation, not because they've lost value, but because they don't spike your dopamine fast enough. This is how infinite stimulation becomes infinite hunger. You keep feeding, but you never feel full. You're not the customer, you're the product. The business model of big tech is simple. Take your attention, convert it into behavior, and sell that behavior to the highest bidder. You think you're scrolling freely, but your scroll builds a profile, a shadow self that knows more about your desires than you do. And this shadow self is sold, targeted, and manipulated. It's not just about ads. It's about shaping your decisions, from what you buy to who you vote for to what you fear most. The most dangerous manipulation isn't the one you notice. It's the one that feels like your own thought. What does it mean to live in a world where your preferences can be predicted and even created by unseen algorithms? It means you must fight for something ancient: agency. Not the freedom to scroll, but the freedom to stop. If this is making you reflect, even just a little, hit that like button. It's a small signal that helps more curious minds find their way here and lets us know this kind of thinking matters. What happens when attention breaks? Attention is more than focus. It's the glue of consciousness, the tool through which memory is recorded and meaning is made. When it fractures, so do you. You begin to experience life in fragments: half-read articles, half-finished thoughts, conversations that drift before they deepen. Your inner voice, once loud and clear, becomes faint. You begin to lose the thread of your own story. This isn't just inconvenient, it's existential. Because the ability to sustain attention is also the ability to sustain identity. If you cannot hold a thought, how can you hold a belief, a relationship, a dream? In a distracted world, attention becomes the rarest form of integrity. The self as a brand. Your online self is a construction, not just for others to see, but for you to believe in. Likes, followers, comments, they feed the illusion that your value is measurable. But over time, your worth becomes entangled with your metrics. You learn to optimize, to present the best angle, the right caption, the curated moment. And with each post, the distance between who you are and how you appear grows wider. The self becomes a performance, and slowly the performance becomes reality. What happens when your reflection online becomes more familiar than your reflection in the mirror? You begin to forget, not everything at once, but in pieces, until the unfiltered you feels like a stranger. To reclaim your mind is to rebel against the noise. But rebellion doesn't look dramatic. It looks like a walk with no podcast, a dinner without a phone, a moment of boredom you don't escape. These are small acts, but they matter, because silence is where the self regenerates. In silence, you hear the questions you've buried. In stillness, the emotions you've numbed start to rise. It's uncomfortable at first, but within that discomfort is freedom. Because to think for yourself, you must first hear yourself. And that requires space, not escape, not detox, just space. Digital tools versus digital philosophies. Technology is not neutral. It shapes how you think, what you value, and who you become. An app that prioritizes speed makes slowness feel wasteful. A platform that rewards outrage makes patience feel weak. So the tools you use become your teachers. The philosopher asks, who am I becoming by using this? If the answer is more reactive, more shallow, more distracted, then no feature can justify it. A digital life worth living requires digital tools aligned with human flourishing, not just engagement. If you're someone who values deeper questions more than easy answers, consider subscribing. This channel isn't here to entertain your boredom, it's here to challenge your assumptions. The algorithm that thinks it knows you. Recommendation engines are like mirrors that warp. They show you a version of yourself, familiar enough to recognize, distorted enough to manipulate. They don't wait for you to choose. They nudge, suggest, and shape. And slowly your curiosity narrows. You stop exploring. You start consuming what's fed to you. At first it feels helpful, convenient, even magical. But over time, the algorithm becomes your editor. It filters your world, replacing the unknown with the predictable. The danger isn't that the algorithm misunderstands you. It's that it flattens you, turns you into a sum of past clicks, forgetting you are also a creature of mystery, change, and contradiction. You are not a playlist. You are not a data cluster. You are a becoming. Chapter 9. When Life Becomes a Game. The world now comes with points, badges for productivity, streaks for language learning, leaderboards for walking. We are taught to optimize, track, and quantify. Every habit becomes a score, every moment a metric. Gamification promises motivation, but it trades something sacred, meaning. When the reward becomes the goal, the process loses depth. Meditation becomes a streak, not a spiritual practice. Reading becomes a badge, not an act of transformation. We begin to confuse doing with winning. And when we stop winning, we stop doing. But life is not a game. There is no leaderboard for wisdom, no trophy for presence. The point is not to win, but to live. Chapter 10. Outrage feeds the machine. Every time you get angry online, someone gets paid. That's not a metaphor. Outrage increases engagement, and engagement is monetized. So your emotional volatility becomes economic fuel. Social media doesn't just reflect conflict, it escalates it. It fragments discourse into sound bites, rewards certainty over curiosity, and makes nuance invisible. But there's a deeper cost, moral fatigue. Constant outrage wears you down. It leaves you cynical, bitter, and exhausted. You begin to forget what calm discourse feels like, what disagreement without hatred sounds like. But philosophy teaches us, the truth doesn't shout, it whispers. And if we want to hear it, we must stop screaming. If something in this video sparked a new question or an old one, share it in the comments. This channel isn't about lectures, it's about conversations. And you're already part of it. The algorithm kills wonder. Remember wonder, that feeling of being small in the face of something vast? It's harder to find now. Search engines give answers before you finish your question. Feed algorithms assume your next desire. There's no room for the unknown. But wonder lives in the unknown. It thrives in ambiguity, silence, and surprise. The algorithm is built on predictability. Wonder is built on mystery, and they are incompatible. Without wonder, we become clever but not wise, informed but not awakened. To rediscover awe, we must resist being constantly informed. We must step into the uncurated, the unpredictable, the real. When empathy is simulated, AI can now imitate concern. Your chatbot therapist might use your name. Your digital assistant might sound warm. But imitation is not connection. Empathy requires presence. It is born in vulnerability, shared history, and embodied care. Machines can simulate patterns, but they cannot suffer with you. The danger isn't that we'll fall in love with robots. It's that we'll expect humans to be as consistent, as polite, as always on as robots. And when they fail, will resent their humanity. Real empathy is messy. It forgets things. It gets tired. It says the wrong thing. But it grows. It heals. It transforms. Never trade authenticity for convenience. Death doesn't end online. The dead no longer rest. Their profiles linger. Their photos return in memory reminders. Their digital selves persist. This creates a new kind of mourning, public, persistent, recursive. Grief, once sacred and private, is now entangled with platform behavior. You might like a post about someone's passing, or scroll past it distractedly. The line between memory and content blurs. But mourning isn't about preservation. It's about integration. It's about learning to carry absence, not digitize presence. Let the dead go, not in disrespect, but in reverence. Some silences must not be filled with noise. Why too much choice is paralyzing. The feed offers everything: music, films, opinions, aesthetics, ideologies. You have more choice than any human in history. But abundance without orientation breeds paralysis. When everything is possible, nothing feels significant. You scroll endlessly, searching not for what you want, but for the feeling of wanting itself. Eventually, desire becomes passive. You stop choosing. You let the feed decide. But choice is sacred, not because it's pleasurable, but because it's responsible. To choose is to say, this matters. This I stand behind. In a world of infinite options, commitment is radical. Thinking deeply is a radical act. We live in a world of reactions. Click, swipe, respond, move on. But philosophy is the opposite. It asks you to pause, to dwell, to hold a thought so long it changes shape. This is hard. Deep thinking is not efficient. It does not reward you quickly, but it is transformative. To reflect is to resist. To ask why when everyone is screaming, what now? If distraction is the currency of our age, then attention is protest, and thinking is revolution. Don't just consume ideas. Wrestle with them. Disagree. Return. Let them disturb you, because that's how you grow, not by knowing more, but by thinking more honestly. Closing reflection. The resistance is internal. You've made it here, to the end. That's not small. It means you've resisted the scroll, the urge to skip, the thousand temptations to turn away. That's rare. Not because the content is exceptional, but because focus is rare. But here's what matters. You can take that focus with you, into your life, into your conversations, into the quiet decisions no one sees. You are not your feed. You are not your clicks. You are not your brand. You are the watcher behind the thoughts, the space behind the noise, the soul behind the data. And that soul, quiet, ancient, enduring, is still yours. If something in this video sparked a new question or an old one, share it in the comments. This channel isn't about lectures, it's about conversations, and you're already part of it. See you in the next one.